Parting your digital world.
There are cybersecurity threats out there. Little common sense goes a long way. And let's start with the most basic thing about being secure is the things you're doing this wrong. I know because I do this wrong. It's not allowing anything to grab your credentials and get away with it. So if a hacker wants to attack you, 90+% of the attack are going to include, and usually they're going after big corporations where they can get millions of accounts and steal credit card numbers and all that kind of stuff. You're somewhat protected depending on the various laws that if you do get attacked, they'll restore you. And the incidence of that is so low as a percentage that it's better to concentrate on the things you can do something about, the 90+%. And that is the getting information, the social engineering, the you give the hacker something he needs to get in. Sometimes it can be somebody else gives him the information. Somebody calls and asks your coworker or family member, "What can you give me the password to this? I need to help Warren do this." And so none of my passwords are on a post-it note near my monitor. That's basic because I don't want somebody friendly to me to then maybe make the mistake and give away my credentials. First of all, keep your credentials someplace safe. And usually what these are called is a phishing attack. If you get an email, ransomware, boy, we've heard about that one. That one scares me too. That's when somebody does gain access and then manages to put something in your system that'll just turn everything off. Back in the day when I ran a computer store, the biggest one we had was the Michelangelo virus, which on Michelangelo's birthday, I think the 5th of March, would just wipe off everything that was on your hard drive. Like you're going to get rid of the machine and start or give it to somebody and start it over. You don't want to do that. You don't want to reformat your hard drive, but that's how they did it then. Today, much more sophisticated. If somebody wants to take down a network, whatever, they've got to gain access. But the number one way they gain access is number one there, the social engineering or phishing attacks. And then passwords. I love to talk about passwords because we hear things about making a better password. The number one tip I can give you, never go with default or password or 1 2 3 4 5. Use any of those kind of things for your password because that's something the first thing somebody's going to get. Birthdays, pets' names, children's names, those types of things. And the way that somebody cracks a password is it's called a brute force method. It just keeps entering passwords until it guesses. Here's a tip that I know I've checked this out with. I once had the opportunity to moderate a group of very smart guys on cybersecurity. Number one question we got the very first was, how do I get a secure password? And so two things. One, first of all, every place you use a password, you need something separate. And second, you need some kind of system. If you put a strong password vault on your device, that means you can get at it. And it's got the strongest security you can. Once open, fairly easy to get to things, but only you can get to it. Either it checks for your facial recognition or your fingerprint, or it has something before you can get into it. So you want to make it easy to get to when you need a password, but hard to do. I use that. I use something like that, something that's complete nonsense with maybe a special character like a question mark or explanation mark or what number symbol, at symbol, all those $sign. Yeah, I think I got most of them there. Hyphens and carrots, and carrot sounds good. So shift 6, I think that is. And you want to do that, but you can use your own system. Another thing is Passkeys. Now I'm just getting into this myself. I always didn't like doing it. There's 2FA, which is two-factor authentication, which means that somebody sends you an email and you have to answer that. That means that the hacker needs access to your email account. If they've got that, they can go right through 2FA. But without that, they're stuck. They then came up with passkeys. And just like we use in crypto, in fact, it is crypto, it's cryptography. It is a long string of characters, too long for you to remember, but half of it is given to the site you're doing business with, and you keep half of it. A lot of that stuff is encrypted now, so that if somebody does break into your cloud account on Google, AWS with Amazon, I use a lot of Dropbox and just any of these. Apple has one, the iCloud, and they all are now secure to the way that if somebody else does gain access to the file, they can't read it because it's encrypted and only matches up your machine. We've got to go over Wi-Fi. Be careful. If you want, like me, I travel and grab the phone, do whatever I want anywhere. And then sometimes I'm sitting in a public place accessing public Wi-Fi, and I think twice before logging in there. And the encryption is getting to be pretty good on those kind of setups. If you use a VPN, virtual private network, it's just you, it's a direct line. If you do want to be safe, the newer messaging like Telegram, WhatsApp, even Facebook Messenger now is doing end-to-end encryption, which means the minute you hit enter, it's encrypted, sent over wherever it goes, winds up at the other end, and then somebody reads it and they can decode it because the system knows it's them and no one else can get to that. A VPN makes it that way for everything that you do. Put them together, great. Nobody knows you're online, what you're doing. It's private. But I think my general rule of thumb is don't worry too much about that stuff, because unless you do something really dumb or you have something really big to protect, that's going to be okay. First of all, I'm not sure you should click on it. Once you do, you definitely shouldn't be sharing your secrets that way. And if you think about it, though, everything you do when you log into social media, when you send a text message, whatever, can be seen by somebody else. It's a myth to think that there is any kind of complete privacy that can never be broken. There are some really interesting things coming up about pretty much hacking proof. It's some new technology comes in, but you pretty much have to be trusting the hardware, and that's something new and for the future. The other thing out there is the quantum computing, which someday will be able to break all this encryption, but that's someday. It's a ways off, and there's constantly people. There are a whole lot of people worrying about your security all the time. And if you get with a company you trust, that's okay.